I took a stroll downtown this evening when I heard music echo through the night. So I started running so I wouldn't be too late. In the neon light, what the music gon' reveal through the night.
Welcome everyone to Coaching the Session. My name is Michael Rearden, and I'll be your mindset coach today. And today we're going to be having John Katsavos come on and explain his story from him coming up, being in a job, and then deciding, this is not for me. What is going to make me happy? And that's a question we have to start to ask ourselves. What makes us happy? Because that question for me was the start of my second journey of mindset. The first journey was getting rid of my ego. The second journey was getting to happiness. And happiness, I have learned over the years, if this is going to be maybe a spoiler alert, it's not so much about the destination. What journey do you want to go on? We have to figure out that in order to find true happiness. Because yes, we can give ourselves a goal and we can reach it and we will feel happy. We will feel joy. We will feel delighted. But it doesn't mean it's going to be long lasting. Because just like if we get a new car, the shine wears off. Just like if we get a new toy or a new pair of clothes or shoes, the shine wears off. When that shine wears off, then we're back to our current state or our natural state of being. What is that state for you? So let's get into that interview with John and myself, and then we're going to be talking about the end result of where we need to be in life. Welcome, John Katsavos, to Coaching the Session. How are you doing today?
Doing great. How are you?
Doing well. Thank you so much. Today, we're going to be talking about what you do. And I want to know a little bit more about your podcast, The Fitness Oracle. Can you tell the world who you are and about this podcast?
Sure. My name is John Katsavos. I'm the founder and creator of The Fitness Oracle. I created The Fitness Oracle because in response to a stat that I heard back in Toronto, where I used to live, how the increase of depression amongst men because of the consistent lockdowns that was happening in Toronto at the time. And I thought, well, this is an easy fix because this is something that I've been through myself, where I was battling depression in my youth. And I locked myself in my bedroom for a year. And it got me to the point where I was standing on a bridge thinking about ending my life. And I had a little bit of an epiphany. And I basically changed my life around unwillingly. I didn't know that would lead to where I am today. But apparently the epiphany was like something like, I have more to offer this world and I shouldn't end it. So I got started with some easy tips, with some easy stuff that I knew from working out since I was 16 years old. Little by little, inch by inch, day by day, I was actually just getting a little bit better. Mm-hmm. Again, unknowing what I was doing, like looking back, I'm like, Jesus, that was everything that I needed. I did in time. Simple workouts, going out to the park, going out for a walk, to getting a job and signing up to martial arts. And that just snowballed into everything that the Fitness Oracle is trying to encompass right now.
Mm-hmm. When the quarantines happened, the lockdowns happened, I kind of knew in the back of my head, wow, business is going to be booming. And it's not so much to say that I'm trying to use this situation as a means for me to gain money or gain fame, right? It was just going to help my mission to help more people. But I knew a lot of people were going to be going through the ringer per se, and they're going to be dealing with trauma. They're going to be dealing with hardships, uncertainty, depression. They had a lot on their plate coming into that quarantine, into that uncertain time. Some people were able to adjust. Some people just kind of allow the world to steer them to wherever they ended up. Sometimes we forget that we're in control of ourselves, of our future, and we just say, well, this is my life. How do you help people who are having that epiphany, right? They're like, I don't know if this is for me. There's just so much negativity in the world. There's so much work that I have to do. Is it worth it? And then, fortunately for us, it was worth it for you, right? You said there's more than just what this is. There's more, and I'm going to find it. Let's talk about that and how people can find that.
There are many tools out there. I found my saving grace through exercise. Simple stuff. You don't need an expensive personal trainer. You don't need an expensive gym membership. Just going out for a daily walk, no earbuds, no music, just you with your own thoughts, and just trying to understand your thoughts. Recently, I just got into meditation myself, and it's leading me to a different thing, but a different course in my life. But it's very interesting where I'm going, and excited about it and nervous. But again, even just simple, if you do like meditate, and I know a lot of guys out there, a lot of people out there are like, meditate, I'm not going to sit down for half an hour or 15 minutes and just listen to my thoughts. Well, you don't need to. They have like YouTube guided stuff, because I'm like that. If I sit down for 15 minutes, I'm sleeping through the meditation. So I have like a guided meditation where it helps me for like 20 minutes, and my whole day is set properly. So just doing some simple stuff, inexpensive. I try and set up my day and live by the motto, own the morning. If you can own the morning, you can own the day. So if I can get my exercise in, if I don't have a job, then I can exercise during the morning. I can do my meditation practices, and then I'm already set for the proper foot to start off my day.
Yeah. And this is not as relevant to your situation, because my situation was kind of looked as, or would be seen as like, oh, you'll get over it, right? With time, you're going to heal. And that was when I was in high school, and I would have a relationship, and the relationship would end, whether it be because of my own doing or because of their doing. And so I would go to the gym. And I would get super buff. I was like, all right, I don't have a girlfriend anymore, so I will go to the gym. And it was almost a way for my brain to refocus that energy for that relationship and put it toward getting fit. So coincidentally, I guess, after every breakup, I was in super good shape. So of course, whenever they saw me, my ex, they'll say, wow, you're in good shape. And then in the back of my head, it's like, I know. Did I do that for them, or did I do that for me? I like to wonder sometimes, right? I think it was a little bit of both, because I wanted them to understand that, okay, this is who he is. And then I wanted to understand that the person I wasn't the person that I'm going to be or become in the future. So even though I had that negativity of that breakup, that hardship, I said, you know what? I can change still, right? The power of change. And life is a journey where people can use fitness, they can use meditation, they can use a book. However, they decide to change their life, they can find a means for that change. And for me, in high school, it was fitness too. It was like, let me get in shape, let me do this. What is the feeling that people initially will get when they start going to the gym and they're serious about it? Not so much New Year's resolution is different. It is different. New Year's resolution, January 1st, I'm going to get in shape. I want to be a better and newer me. Instead of it being just a contingency by being a New Year's resolution, I'm changing my life, because if I don't, I can't find meaning in tomorrow.
It's funny that you said the whole New Year's resolutioners, and because that is all based off of something that I can't stand listening to, and it's motivation. Motivation is it's useless. In order for you to do any form of change, and I've said this, I was just recording something yesterday about this. If you're not willing to change your lifestyle, you're not going to be able to change the way you look. So you have to understand that the best way to get to changing the lifestyle of a person is get to the core reason of their why. Why do you want to change? Why do you want to get those six-pack abs, or that chiseled chest, or those 21 guns? Why? And then ask another 4 levels deep of why do you want to get that? Because we all find out at the end, it doesn't have to do with the physical appearance of the person. It has to do with an emotional trauma that happened to the person at some point. And when we can get to that, then you can start doing the work at the gym, putting in the reps, putting in the sets, and getting great results, and not just for a temporary period. It's for long-term effects.
For me, I do multiple types of videos. On my YouTube channel, I have the podcast, so that's 3 times a week. And then 2 times a week, I do a motivation and motion series. Now, the reason it's called motivation and motion is because motivation is not going to be one of those things that stays stationary, right? It's always changing. What works for me today might not work for me tomorrow, because I can say, all right, this is going to motivate me today. And then I listen to, like, let's say a hip hop song, and I'm like, all right, cool, I'm listening to this hip hop song. And it gives me a short boost of motivation, right? Now, as soon as that song is over, that energy is gone too, right? So I lose that. Motivation is 100% temporary. However, there are ways that you can utilize that motivation and trick the brain, right? It's kind of like saying, all right, well, if you want dessert, you have to eat your vegetables. Okay, I'll eat I'll eat my vegetables so I can get dessert. So motivation is sort of like that, but it's like a trick for the brain, because the brain is naturally lazy. The brain doesn't want to do anything that's going to be challenging or difficult. So if you can motivate it in the sense of, I'm not focused on this hardship for a second, then I can say, okay, it's not so bad, right? So motivation is just looking at a situation as not so bad, but in reality, the situation was never bad. We're just fooling our subconscious mind. We're just literally saying, okay, well, this is not bad. Neuroplasticity, changing the way our mind is operating. So yes, motivation, 100% temporary. What people need to start to do is to start to, as you said, find their why. Many people just go to college. If they go to college, they pick a career that they think they'll like. They do it. They find out maybe they don't like it, but they're stuck. So they stay in that stuck place. And then they wonder why they're not happy in 20, 30 years. Their relationship is not profound. The relationship they have with their family is less than optimal. And it's because they are not choosing their why properly. They just take what they get, or they take what they got, and they try to make the best out of it. Now, I'm not saying that we can take every situation and make it perfect, but every situation that we have is going to be our learning experience. And we can either change it or we can keep it the same. When people want to make a change in their life, what are some tips and tricks that they can do, some secrets per se, that they can say, okay, I'm going to start to do this. And this is beyond exercise, right? Because exercise is going to be that first part, right? You have to have a strong body in order to have a strong mind. The body has to be there. And it doesn't have to be like your Arnold Schwarzenegger. You just can be going in there and saying, I want to be able to run a mile without having a heart attack. I want to be able to lift 100 pounds on the bench without having someone to come rescue me across from the gym. I want to be able to accomplish that on my own, right? That's self-satisfaction. So beyond exercise, are there any tips and tricks that people can use or utilize in order to get to a better state of mind?
There's a ton of tips and tricks. I utilize them in a 7-day free program that I run once a month on Facebook and just on Zoom calls like this. And we start off at the end. And I learned this through a friend of mine who I'm a part of his group. And we don't talk about the end in the sense of the end of a certain specific goal that you have. We're talking about your end. When you're in the casket and someone else is talking about how you changed their life for the better. So when you can have that, the whole saying, like, aim for the moon, but if you miss, you're amongst the stars. So that's what we're basically doing. We're aiming for the moon, and if we miss it, we're still among the stars, and we're shining bright in the sky. So for me, if you have that at the end as the end result, as this is who I am when I'm dead. This is my legacy. This is how many people are going to remember me. Then we can work backwards as to, okay, what do I need to get done today? So that's one trick, is write your eulogy in somebody else's voice and identify that person, identify where you are, what you did, how you touched this person, how you improved this person's life. And like you said, like, for me, fitness is only like 1.5% of the entire equation. It's a very small percentage because there's more pieces to this puzzle. It's a very complex puzzle, to be honest with you.
There's a saying or some type of story that when we're gone, deceased, right? We are faced with our self that we were destined to be, right? We can either go up to a mirror and we look and we see the person that we were supposed to become. And then we can also see the reflection of who we are. So we can see the person that we were supposed to be, the person that we are. And then the person who is in the mirror, our destined person, asks, why have you not done the things to become me? I'm successful. I have done this and that in my life, but yet you have done this and that. And though what you have done is meaningful, there is so much more for you to accomplish. There's also another way to see that is when you're dead and gone, you're presented with a binder. And the binder is going to be of all the things you could have done in your life, all the things you could have accomplished, the successes, the legacy you would have left behind. And then there's going to be the binder of what you actually did. And you can tell the discrepancy between the two. Who you were supposed to become is thick. Webster Dictionary, thick. You're not going to finish that. But then you have your life. It's just a notebook, wide ruled, not even college. You didn't do much. People find that they get into a comfortable spot in their life and they stay there. They say, this is my spot and this is where I'm going to stay. However, what that causes is depression, that causes anxiety, that causes the fear of failure. And if people are having difficult times getting out of that area, they're not going to reach that desired self, that most desired self. So people have to get out of their comfort zone, right? Maybe you have an example or story of how you got out of your comfort zone and into some type of growth zone where you're saying, this is the place I want to be so I can get to the zone that's going to be success, fulfillment, rather than just complacency.
Actually, I got a lot of examples of my past life, of my past with that. But the most recent one, for the last, 5.5 years, I was working in a hospital IT job, very cushy job. I was traveling the world, 2 vacations in a year. I had great money coming in, just bought a condo in Toronto, which is not a cheap thing to do. And COVID hit. And I was still employed through a COVID. I was considered one of the lucky ones, but I couldn't travel anymore. I couldn't distract myself with hopping on a plane and going to Cambodia just to see what life is like in Cambodia. And I couldn't do that. Well, I actually had a trip planned for Peru to go walk the Inca Trail. I couldn't do that. And I felt stuck again. And it felt like Groundhog Day, day in, day out, go to work, come home, go to work, come home. And I'm like, there's got to be something bigger than this. There's got to be something better than this. This can't be it for me. I know everybody's telling me how great I have it and how lucky I am and this and that, but I'm like, I feel dead inside. You know, and don't get me wrong, the people that I worked with, fantastic group of people, amazing. The company, great company. I got nothing bad to say about them. Just for me, I felt like I was dying inside. Now, remember, I was out for a walk on a weekend, very long walk, and I was listening to Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And I'm thinking to myself, you know what? He's talking about some really great stuff, but I got nothing to sell. Like, what do I have to sell? Long story short, a couple days later, I've realized that, you know what, I used to be a personal trainer, so I do have something to sell. It's fitness, leading a healthy, fit life. So, okay, I called up my old web guy. I'm like, let's get my website back up. And one thing led to another. I got VO Fitness back started up again. And then it evolved into the Fitness Oracle through London Real, because I was a member of London Real that helped me get everything transferred online rather than in-house. It came to the point when I was working at my job. I had just come back from Greece. I was on a vacation in Greece last summer. And my whole life, I've always dreamed about living in Greece, living and working in Greece, because to me, that feels like it's my home. So when I came back, I was working with a hypnotherapist at the time. And she looked at me like through a Zoom call. She was in California and I was in Toronto. And she looks at me, she goes, John, you just brought back a shell. Your heart and soul, you left there. And I could feel it. I didn't say anything to my supervisor. My supervisor came down, sat right down beside me, and he goes, "You have to start figuring out what's going to make you happy in life." Because everybody around me could see I was not happy. So some stuff happened at my old job, and I no longer am employed there. So I took my quote unquote hobby of podcasting and online fitness training. And I'm like, this is what makes me happy.
Mm-hmm.
Helping other guys get out of the rut that I was in.
Mm.
And sometimes it's just as hard as just ripping that Band-Aid off and just putting yourself 100% in the mix.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to be fun. It's not going to be easy. It ain't going to be pretty, but it's going to be worth it at the end. And then you can start working at that thick binder that you said and living to that expectation that you set when you wrote your eulogy, because that's what I'm doing right now. I'm working to be that man in the casket.
Change is not going to be easy. It's going to be one of the most difficult things that we have to do, because we are telling our brain to expend energy, and that energy has to transform who we are. So the brain is now, or the body per se, is going to have to adjust. And that adjustment period is where people succeed or people fail, right? And you can try in this adjustment period as many times as you want. You can say, okay, I'm going to get in shape, and you try to get in shape, and you start, you're 3 months in, and you say, okay, I'm getting to where I want to be, but it's just too much work. I hit a plateau and I'm stopping, right? We just have to not stop, right? That's the key. Don't stop. Don't give up. Keep going, right? Even when it gets really tough, don't stop. Keep going. And even for myself, I had the opportunity to stop. I had the opportunity to not be more every single day, right? My goal every single day is to be more than I was the day before. As long as I can show up every single day and I don't allow my weaker self to take a hold of me, sink its teeth in, and say, all right, I'm going to make sure you're not proactive today. I'm going to make sure you're not productive. I want you just to be where you are and be happy where you are. And it's not so much that I'm never happy in my life. It's just that I understand my future and I find joy in going on that journey every single day to that better person. So the idea of happiness is going to be defined by that person, because someone might say happiness to me is going on a vacation with the people I love the most and eating good food and being able to not be stressed about bills, finance, and they're just in the moment and they can see everything for what it truly is. Right now, we have a lot of issues that we have to adjust, whether it be how we're going to pay the mortgage, how we're going to pay this bill, that bill. My relationship is on the rocks. There's so much that we have to focus on, and it stops us from paying attention to ourself, our happiness. Are there ways where people can say, I know this job doesn't make me happy, but I know what makes me happy. I know this relationship is not perfect right now, and it doesn't necessarily make me happy, but I'm going to do the things that make me happy. It's a form of self-care in a sense of I'm worrying about my happiness. I'm worrying about my fulfillment, because I understand that if I can be fulfilled, if I can be happy, then those around me can also join that ride to that happiness. Wanting to touch base on how can someone find long lasting happiness rather than just temporary happiness. For an example, people like material things. I'm going to get a fast car, Ferrari, my dream car. I work so hard for this car and I get it. And they finally get it, but they realize happiness wasn't at that destination. So let's talk about that a little bit.
This is a very recent thing for me because I moved to a country where I never thought I would ever move to. Like I said, my dream was to move to Greece, not US. The US is amazing. The people here are probably the nicest people I've ever met. And I'm Canadian. And I'm telling you, the Americans are the nicest people I've ever met in my life. The weather here is beautiful all the time. There's nothing wrong with it. But I moved here for someone else. Am I happy because of it? I'm happy with the environment that I'm in, but I feel like something is missing. This person that is here sees it. And we had a conversation, and this person told me you need to make yourself happy. We need to understand that when the people that we care about the most see us happy, it makes them happy to see you happy. Doesn't make a difference. You can have hundreds of mansions, thousands of cars, But if you're not happy deep down, then forget it. You're going to be nothing in this world. You're going to grab gold and it's going to turn to dust. You have to find what that happiness looks like, what it feels like, what it smells like, what it tastes like. Once you can find that happiness and you can start working, because it takes work to go, because it's not just work. You're going to get a lot of external negativity coming in saying, we don't like the way you're changing because we're not used to it. Not because we don't want to see you happy. It's just we're not used to seeing you like this. We're used to seeing you like, the IT specialist working in a secure job, not the personal trainer that has a podcast and is working from home. So it's the comfort level between the people that you care about and yourself. That's the hardest thing that I've had to come up with. And for me personally, there may be another move happening this year, which is another fun stuff.
People think the journey of life is just a destination. And I touched base on it a little bit too. My journey of becoming more mindful, of becoming a mindset coach, from being a teacher, coach, and now helping people how they think, how they move in life, per se. It took me years to get to this point. And when I was 18, 19, when I started to do my second shift, because I started my first shift when I was 15, 16. So, I can look back at my life and I can say, this is my first shift. This is my second shift. This is my third shift. And it's always a shift. I like to think, what happened if I had my last shift when I was 15? Where would I be? Right? Because then my mind would have been so much more profound and wise, per se. But then at the same time, I would have missed out on many of the challenges that I learned along the way. Because in a sense, we do need challenge. We do need adversity in order for us to grow. We need that, this is rough, in order for us to say, okay, I'm in a better place because of it. If we were just handed everything, that's not life. That's not going to lead to our happiness. It's going to lead to a different type of hardship down the road. It's just that we avoided some, but we didn't avoid the brunt of everything, because it will come our way and we have to deal with it. Those emotions are going to be deep and heavy. And many people don't even know how to deal with their emotions, especially men, because men are told, be man, hide your emotions, don't love, don't be affectionate, keep everything internalized. Men don't cry. And that is what men think. Men are on their own, basically, to deal with their own crap. And that's hard because many men need an outlet. They need something that's going to break those obstacles in their brain that say, okay, I can do this trauma in my life, I can get over it. Men are going to be that group of people who go on their own and try to find that journey. If you look online and you just type in coach or healing coach, you're going to be flooded by women coaches helping women. Why? Right? Why is it that? Why are there not more men coaches helping other men with trauma? And it's because it's something that, as a society or as a world, men are viewed as, you have to be tough, right? You have to be that mountain that is going to be immovable. We have to start to change that aspect a little bit and redefine it. What is a man, right? And I wanted to get your definition of what is a man, because when we can understand what is a man, what is our responsibility, what is our role, that is like our another why. That's like our next why, because our why can be very personal. But when we attach our gender to it, what is a man? Then we can add that to our family, our peers around us, our society around us, our culture around us. All that is affected by that definition of what we give ourselves as a man. And then we also define who we want to be as a man, our character. We might be angry and upset all the time right now because that's what we think a man should be. Or we can say we want to be loving and compassionate. That's what a man should be. Now, if we had to put brave, tough, loving, and compassionate into two different categories, and you had to put which category does this belong to, a male or a female, most people are going to say that belongs for a female category. But men need that too. Men need that love and appreciation. They need that self-care. They need that respect. But society's telling us otherwise. And I have to tell the men I coach saying, hey, we have to do this too. And they're like, you're right, we do. Right. And then we start that work and they're like, I'm better for it. But society doesn't give us that tip. They don't give us that secret saying, hey, you need to work on this if you want to be happy. You need to work on this if you want to reach the next level. It's like that secret that many people know about, but society is frowning upon it. We're like, hey, men, don't cry, don't cry. But those tears can be powerful because those tears can bring change. And many people are afraid to show their tears, their emotions. So let me get your view on that, on men, emotions, dealing with what the world says that a man should be.
That is a very deep question. I don't really pay attention to really what the world should be telling me what I should be. I have my own set values where a man for me is four things. He's a king, he is a warrior, he is a lover, and he is a magician. All four enable us. This is from the actual book called that, King, Warrior, Magician, Lover. It's the four archetypes of the male persona kind of thing. We all have them. We're all kings, we're all warriors, we're all magicians, and we're all lovers. Quickly, what this means is the king is the leader. He understands to be humble in retreat. He understands to be valiant in battle. He can lead his tribe. The warrior has the ability to fight for the things that he believes that is valid for him and his family and his loved ones. The lover is the one that has the emotions to be able to show his emotions to the people that he cares about. And the magician is the ability for a man to sculpt his life as he sees fits. Now, a lot of like what you said, like with society has labeled men as just a warrior, just a king. We forgot about that. We could be the lover and we can be the magician. And those are very soft personas compared to warrior and king. I mean, you say warrior and king and you're like, yeah, I'm a warrior and a king. But you also have to be a lover and you also have to be a magician. So when you can, for me, if you can like mold the man with all four archetypes, he'll be a much powerful force in this world than just the two archetypes. So I know what you're saying because I have somebody in my life when they're teaching the younger generation, men don't cry. It's like, well, no, we do cry. We're human beings. We have emotions, and it's important not to show the emotions too much. Show it for a short period of time, deal with it. I understand the whole lone wolf syndrome and everything because I'm guilty of that myself. But I also understand that lone wolves also need a pack. This is where the warrior and the king persona come into play in order to support the magician to work his magic and find and amplify the lover inside of him. So we have all these amazing tool sets at our disposal. When you pay too much attention to what somebody else is trying to tell you you are, that's also taking away from your spirit. So you know who you are, you know what you need to do, you know how to go forward. You just got to put it in play and find a community, find a tribe of other men that are going through something similar or have been there to help you along so you can look like the king, so you can act like the warrior, so you can pull out the magic tricks like the magician, so you can find that lover in you and just spew love in this world.
Mm-hmm.
So
Definitely. I say this a lot. If a male doesn't have a male example in their life, they're going to find another male example, whether it be a good person to follow or a bad person to follow. That's where we have cultures sometimes shifting to negative behaviors, selling drugs, being in gangs, things like that, because they see the males around them doing that. So they say, this is what it entails to be a man. We are living in a world, a modern society where women can go off and work. There's not much need to protect and provide anymore because we have our homes, we have the police, where we don't necessarily have to worry about a saber-toothed lion coming out of a bush and eating us alive. So women can take the role of, okay, I can be modern and independent. I don't need a man to live, right? So sometimes that idea is going to drive women to say, I don't want to be in this relationship, right? They don't look at the family as the primary reason to be in the relationship. They look at their happiness more so than the family's happiness. So we have a society or a generation of young minds growing up without a two-parent household, whether it be no mom in the house or no dad in the house. There has to be that balance. And just how we talked about the balance of like king, warrior, magician, lover, right? All of those different areas is a balance. Because if we're king, we could be a tyrant. If we could be a warrior, we could be malicious, right? If we're a magician, we could be a trickster, right? And if we're a lover, then we can also be a sinner. Too much of any area can be good, but at the same time, having that balance, finding that balance is going to be so much more beneficial for our growth. And I encourage every male to seek a mentor at any age. It doesn't matter. You could be 50, find a mentor. And they could be younger, they could be older. It doesn't necessarily matter. Look for the skill set you're looking for, or look for the knowledge that you're looking to attain. And I had many mentors in my life. Majority of them were men. I'm not saying a woman couldn't do that job, but I'm just saying my 2 cents as a man. As a man, I'm looking for another man to personify in the sense of what is it to be a man, right? A woman can't tell a man how to be a man. She hasn't walked in our shoes, right? Yeah, she could have read a book. She could have worked with billions of other men, but it's not the same. It is not our emotions. It is not our ego. They don't have that experience. That's why we have men's coaches and women's coaches. I'm not saying that a man can't work with a woman, and not saying a woman can't work with a man. It's different. Because I remember I was having a conversation with someone who was a relationship coach, and she was working with a man. That person was in her coaching for 3 years. That's not good, because you shouldn't be looking for a coach, a relationship coach per se. That's what that was, and be looking for 3 years. I'm not saying to find your perfect match, is going to be instant, but at the same time, we should understand, okay, this is what a man typically does. This is what a woman typically does. And she was operating under what women only want. So he was not doing necessarily things that were attractive to women from the conversation. I found out. So of course, there's things that you look for when you're working with a male coach, and there's going to be things that you're looking for when you work with a female coach. Different spectrums you have to understand. But like I said, have a mentor, find a guide, a coach, someone who's going to help you along the way. And you have to make sure you resonate with that person too. Because if you are working with someone that you don't like and you have to do something, you're not really going to do it, right? Because if I say, okay, you need to go to the gym and this is the workout I want you to do, and I don't look the part, let's say I'm 300 pounds overweight, you're going to look at me saying, maybe this person should look at their own advice and start taking it, right? So so that is what the brain is doing constantly. This person is not successful, so I'm not going to listen to them. I'm sure you might know speakers or executive leaders, coaches that will go off and they have to have their BMWs, their Ferraris, their jets, just to help people see this can be your life too, rather than a person like me who has learned to be humble and not allow material possessions to dictate my worth and my value. Because I understand the value that I have is going to be worth more than that BMW, that Ferrari, that mansion. You can have nice things in life, but do you do it because of the status symbol or because you truly support this material item that you have? And many people look for the status before they look for the intrinsic feeling that the item gives them. In all, let's talk about the power of finding a mentor, the power of finding a coach, and then please share with people how they can find you.
The power of finding a mentor or a coach is paramount. Like I said before, like we can't do this alone. We need to find a community. We need to find our tribe. We need to be able to find people who have been there before. Like you said, like I personally see some of these guys on the social media with their cars and their house mansions and their planes. And I'm like, okay, how much of that is true?
Mm-hmm.
Because you got that guy mentality too. It's like, okay, I like what you have, but how much really is it really yours?
Mm-hmm.
I understand there's some people that actually have it and they're actually trying to do a lot of good with it, but it does look like they're showboating. And I
Mm-hmm.
agree with you with that. Do I want it? Sure. I want my own private jet to go to
Mm-hmm.
be able to fly wherever I want in this world. I think everybody would, but I wouldn't showboat it. One of the tricks that I found over the last 2 years when looking at this program and that program and this program is, especially when it comes to like trying to find mentors and coaches, is find the one personality trait or the one trait or the one thing that somebody has and reach out to them and just casual email, say, hey, I saw you're making six figures on your business. I'm struggling a little bit. I was wondering if you could give me a quick tip. And you have to learn how to build a relationship. The people that are willing to respond to something like that, those are the mentors that you want, because at least they care to send an email back to you
Mm-hmm.
or whatever. You just need to form some form of relationship with these people. Not saying it's going to work 100% of the time, but there are some people out there that are well off and are willing to help people who are struggling. How people can find me? I'm all over. If you want to reach out to me and become part of the Band of Brothers, it's a community that I'm trying to build. Just I'm on Facebook, or you can find my Linktree account. You can find all my links there to all my social media content, and I got even more stuff coming. So you can feel free to reach out to me if you feel like I can help you. If you feel like I've given you any form of value with this thing, please reach out to me.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And for everyone who is not able to have a pen handy, all the descriptions and all his links are going to be in the description box below, so everyone can reach out to John and get to work, right? And I love what you said about reaching out to someone when you need help. Send an email, right? Just send an email, make the call, and you never know, right? I have high school students, especially around May time. So come next month, I'm going to have my email box flooded with high school kids asking me questions. And it's a common thread with them. I don't know what I'm going to do in my life. I'm afraid to fail. What's some advice? And my advice is that the fear of failure is going to be ever prominent in your life. We can't be afraid of the act of failing. We should be more wary of, if we have a failure, are we paying attention? Because if we can pay attention to our failures, then we can say, all right, this caused a failure. What was the reason? Sometimes we are the reason. And if we are the reason, we can change it. But if we're not the reason, then we have to look deeper at our why. Because sometimes our unconscious motivators can say, yeah, we really don't want to do this. I know you're doing it, but I don't want to do it, right? So it doesn't touch base with our why. And that leads us to being miserable in 20 years, saying we hate this job, we don't love this job, and we are in a state of depression and we're lost, we're stuck, right? That's because you didn't find your why, or you didn't pay attention to your failures. Emailing someone, finding a mentor, finding a guide like John or myself. Doesn't matter if you're a man, doesn't matter if you're a woman. Of course, depending on the area you're looking for, you're going to want to find someone who has an expertise or that is going to be their niche. So, of course, the Fitness Oracle, the podcast, listening to that, getting some gems and some words of wisdom is going to be helpful for anyone who's trying to get their body right so they can help get their mind right, because it's a building block process of getting to your most desired self. It's not, all right, I'm snapping my fingers and my life changes. That change is going to be a journey, and we have to not be afraid to be on that journey. So I encourage everyone to reach out to John if they need any coaching, any guidance, and then, of course, to see if that men's group he has is going to be a good fit for you, because doing something like that is going to be the start for you to help build the rest of your future. So John Katsavos, everyone. All right, I'd like to thank my guest, John Katsavos, for coming on Coaching in Session. Again, We can learn so much from coaches, and coaches are not going to be perfect. I'm not perfect. And every day I learn a little bit more about myself. And I say, okay, I'm not feeling good. I can't do this. I can't do that. It's a learning lesson. The life that I'm living is not easy street. I don't want to live on that road. I want to find a challenge every single day. I want to challenge myself. I want to have some type of adversity every single day. And it doesn't have to be a huge challenge. It has to be a small challenge. That's why every day, Monday through Friday, I'm challenging myself in the gym. And then, of course, we come home and then it's time for work with clients, work with office, podcasts. All of that has to play a role. So that is what I'm doing. And I'm making sure that the challenges that I have to face, whether it be a huge workload or I'm learning a new skill, I'm making sure I grow from it. And then, of course, I'm not afraid to ask for help. If I am overburdened, who can help me? And that's where I will get another coach. I will get an assistant, secretary, whoever needs to help me. And then you have to ask yourself too, where do you need help in your life? Because maybe you have everything perfect, but can we make it better? And the answer should always be yes. We can always make improvements. Now, things might be in a really nice place for you, but just because it's good now, will it be good later? So let's focus on not only now, this moment, but focus on where we're going to be, our goals, our future. That's going to be dependent on us. So if we show up every single day and we make sure we have a clear target of what we're going for, we're going to be making something good happen in our life. As always, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, to share this video, and to help continue to build a community of people who are trying to get into a better mindset, into a better life. My name is Michael Rearden. If you have any questions, email me, coachinginsession@gmail.com. I will see everyone on the next episode of Coaching in Session. Until then, everyone, take care.